It's my honor to be here today here in Tokyo for the first Capital Link event here in Tokyo. And of course, Tokyo being such a maritime hub is fantastic to be here meeting with all you gentlemen and ladies. A little glitch there. Now, before I move on to Southeast Asia, I would like to jump on to the Greater Bay Area. That's the Hong Kong Bay Area first. Because what I would like to show you is that when you're using Hong Kong as a platform to the Southeast Asia or other places, you're not talking about only Hong Kong, but it's rather about the whole 11 cities around us. Greater Bay Area is an initiative which we have signed together, all together, trying to grow it together. Because 11 cities, actually, we have a population of 71 million people. The GDP-wise actually is more than 1.6 trillion US dollars. So to put it in perspective, it is about the size or bigger than the size of Australia, Korea, or Australia. So when you are there, actually, you are not going only to one city or 11 cities. Rather, it is going to an economy similar to those nations. Now, for these 11 cities, actually, you may be able to see that we've got different elements in it. Hong Kong, as you know, I think we are very strong on the financial services, also on shipping. But then on the other places, for example, Shenzhen actually is very strong on technology. Earlier with Natasha's presentation and also with Martin's presentation, actually, I don't think we need to stress any more on the importance of technology. Then actually it's a combination of technology from developed by the Shenzhen area, talents over there, and then also with the funding and financing from Hong Kong. So that's a combination. And then, of course, we've got other cities, for example, very strong high-tech manufacturing inside of mainland China, the other cities, and of course, Macau being a leisure center, no matter it is on the lifestyle or gaming. We are putting this in perspective with other Bay Areas, including, of course, here in Tokyo, New York, and also San Francisco Bay Area. It is not meant for that these are competitions, they are not, but rather is a reference on where we are today, what we are looking at tomorrow, and how we should go about it. Now, if you look at the GDP at this point of time, as I mentioned, $1.6 trillion in the Greater Bay Area around Hong Kong. And then for San Francisco Bay Area, 781, New York, 1.6 billion, 1.65, a bit more than Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Bay Area. And then also the Tokyo Bay Area at 1.77. So Tokyo Bay Area and New York Bay Area, they are much bigger. And then with the market potential, you can look at the land size and also the population. And I think all of you would agree that China, we have a very big population, needless to say about it. So we've got the highest number of people, 71 million people. And for the land size, 56,000 kilometers squared. So this is the potential of how many factories, let me put it this way, you can put it there, and the demand from the factories and also demand from the 71 million people. Now, for the trend of it, you can look at the fourth row, that's the real GDP growth. You can see that the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Bay Area, it is over 7%, whereas San Francisco at 5.3%, but it's a much smaller base. And then New York at 1% and Tokyo Bay at 1%. So you can see that in a few years' time, the GDP, the market, actually will become the biggest among these four of all. And where would be the direction which is going? Now you can look at also the GDP share of tertiary industry, because as I mentioned, technology is one main thrust behind it, and then also financial services. When you grow big, actually the tertiary element is very important, because that is where you can make use of talent. You are not limited by the physical size, and also how you could collaborate more. So actually you can see that for that, we are the lowest among the four. We are at 65%, whereas New York is at 83%. So that is the percentage that we are targeting. Now, of course, all these, we need to have the talents. Number of world top 100 universities, we've got 4, whereas the other Bay Area got 2. And then, of course, we're here talking about shipping. Then I think the figure for the container throughput and also air freight traffic would also be very useful. And of course, I mean, it would be nice if we've got a ship-owning tonnage of these 4 Bay Area, but I do not have that. But I'm sure actually we would have a very strong elements on that also. And Greater Bay Area, of course, we have to look at the connectivity. So these are the two major connectivity projects that have just been launched end of last year. One is the high-speed rail link. Now, the high-speed rail link, we have completed ours last year. So now you can ride on the high-speed rail in Hong Kong, starting from Hong Kong and then arriving in Beijing in about less than 9 hours. So that's very efficient because you can get there, in the night, and then you'll be arriving in the morning. And then the other one is the bridge, which is connecting the river mouth, Hong Kong, Zhuhai, Macau. This will be able to shift our center of gravity from Shenzhen to the Western Pearl River Delta, because that is more or less an area with less development, so cheaper labor, cheaper land, then actually is an area that we see a lot of potential to grow. So bottom line is that this Bay Area is an area that if you use Hong Kong, you are tapping into this market. As I mentioned earlier, we assigned this framework agreement, so we 11 cities are working together. And of course, it would be naive to think that we do not have our own agenda. Each city we have. However, we are working to minimize disagreements. So that's why actually now our framework agreement was announced earlier this year. And the initial phase will be on sustainability and innovation. So that, again, actually is the main thrust, I think, for the shipping industry to meet with the 2020 sulfur cap or the 2030 or 2050 gas emission requirements. So this is an area that we think that we can do a lot on. And for business, we are in business to make profit. Hong Kong government, we believe profit is best kept by the companies, so that you will be able to reinvest those money. Now our tax rate is only on profit. We have started this two-tier system. The first tier is for the first 2 million Hong Kong profit level at 8.25%. And then after that is 16.5%. We believe this is probably the lowest, one of the lowest around the world. And then, of course, the circles over there actually is meant to compare the total tax rates which you could use for different countries or different economies. Hong Kong, you can see that is altogether, we tax very low tax rate and very few items. So you can see that it is a bit more than 16%. Whereas, for example, in Shanghai, you are talking about almost 45% altogether. So this gives you a philosophy of different economies, and Hong Kong actually is one of the lowest. And this is the ranking for the foreign direct investment inflow of global economies. Now, first one, USA, 275 billion US dollars, China, 136 billion US dollars, and then Hong Kong, the number 3, 104 billion US dollars. Now, this actually is, the way I put it is that this is the money which companies, they use to vote for different economies. Not surprising for USA and also for China, two very big economies, but Hong Kong, we are only 1,000 square kilometer size, and we are able to rank third. And of course, this is a vote of confidence from around the world, putting their money into Hong Kong. Of course, a lot of this money, they are not staying here in Hong Kong. They are using Hong Kong as a conduit to go into the Asian market, to go into the Japanese market, Chinese market, and Southeast Asian market, and vice versa, the other direction also. So this shows what we would like to do altogether. International Financial Center, Transport Logistics Hub, Innovation and Technology, and Legal Service, which is very important because I think in the Greater Bay Area, we have the most open and international legal system. When you are doing cross-border business, you want to make sure that the legal system, the platform actually is something that you understand and also it is widely acceptable. And of course, the financial market width and depth actually is very important. Over here, you can see that we are the world's third largest and also Asia's second largest behind Tokyo in terms of market capitalization. And also for the IPO, total fund raised by IPO in Hong Kong for the past 10 years, we are number 1 for 6 times in the past 10 years. And this shows the cooperation between Shenzhen and Hong Kong on the innovation. Because for those that they've been to Hong Kong, we've got a border between Shenzhen and Hong Kong, of course, two different systems. But now we are making use of this river loop area to develop a science and technology area, which what the concept is that then we can make use of the strength of the mainland Shenzhen technology companies and also talents, and also the open system, international system of Hong Kong, plus the financing to work together. So this is 87 hectares. In the Japanese concept may not be very big, but actually in the Hong Kong concept is already 4 times the size of our own science park. And this is another tax break which we are putting up. For the for the technology side, actually last year the chief executive announced that we are putting in 50 billion Hong Kong dollars investments into the sector. And besides that, money into the system, we're also cutting tax for the R&D activities. So for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars, the tax deduction is 300%, and after that, that will be 200%. So you can see that on the technology side, $1 you spend, actually you are reducing your tax by $3 for the first 2 millions, and then after that, reducing it by $2. So it's a very generous offer. And then, of course, now I come to the Southeast Asia. We have signed the FTA with the ASEAN countries about 2 years back. And for these 2 years, all the governments have been working very hard to ratify these FTA. Now, actually is now ready. So in June this year, actually it will be ineffective. For Singapore, then this FTA allows for zero duty on the products going into Singapore market. And then for Thailand and also Myanmar, actually it will also be starting initially with lower tariff, and then later on to be eliminated altogether. And after this is being implemented, then we will be working with the ASEAN countries to enter this regional comprehensive economic partnership. And of course, is an entrenchment of our cooperation and participation in the area. And of course, for the free trade agreement, then we're expecting a lot more traffic of cargo going into the Southeast Asian country. And of course, besides the tariff reduction is only part of it, there are other measures which we're trying to do as much as possible. For example, fuel restriction, because Southeast Asian country, ASEAN countries, is a lot of different systems, and we have to work under one major comprehensive framework to make it easier for companies to work with them on the trade and also the maritime side. And of course, business cannot be done without people. So actually the visa for all this area will have to be worked out also. Now, of course, I think the time actually is quite tight, and we are overrunning a little bit. I think it's important that we will be able to mingle more and also talk with you later, because I think you may have some questions in your mind. I hope that we will be able to meet up later on in cocktail, in the breaks, and also at the lunch, so we can talk more in details on whatever you have in your mind. And Invest Hong Kong, we are a Hong Kong government department, so we want to support your activities in Hong Kong. And no matter you're doing it already or you're thinking about it, come talk to me. And we have an office here in Tokyo, which is at Chiyoda-ku. And I think also, I hope also that you will be able to meet with our colleague later on. Thank you.